Okay, let's talk about volume in other three-dimensional shapes, things that aren't prisms. The first one, and you'll probably be reminded of what we talked about before when I show you the rule for finding the volume of a cylinder. It's the area of the repeated cross-section times the height. And you might be thinking to yourself, but that's exactly the same as a prism. Why is this in this section and not a prism? Well, it's because it's got a curved edge. There's no curves in prisms. There just isn't. So even though it works out the same in terms of its rule, it's not a prism. Okay, so this one here is pretty easy. It's the area of the circle. We know that that's pi r squared, and it's multiplied by the height. And in fact, if you ever have any strange shape that you are not sure of how you'd ever figure that out, well, if it's got a repeated cross-section, like my weird swimming pool sort of shape over here, if you can make a cross-sectional cut that's the same every time, then the formula is just the same. It's the area of that cross-section multiplied by the height of the thing. So it's the area of that little shaded part multiplied by the height. Okay, so they're the easiest of the non-prism shapes, these volumes. Let's talk about some of the ones that are a little more difficult. These ones are very similar to each other. When I talk about this first one, it'll give away how you do the next one. The volume of a cone, it is 1/3 multiplied by the area of the base times the height. Okay, so I can't really go into why. It's a third. That's kind of beyond what our scope is, but that's what the formula is. It is 1/3 multiplied by the area of the base multiplied by the height. Okay, so when it all comes down to it, for a cone, it'll be 1/3 pi r squared times the height. Now, the prism over here, this pyramid, it has a similar setup. It's 1/3 area of base times the height. So in this case, it's a square-based pyramid. So it'll be 1/3 the side squared, that's the area of the base, times the height. Now, if you had a triangular-based pyramid or any other shaped pyramid on the base, you will be able to use the same formula and it will work itself out. The very last one that I'll talk about is a good old sphere. And again, it is way beyond the scope of what we learned to know why this rule works, but it does. The volume of a sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed. Oh, and by the way, because we're dealing with volume, in every instance, it'll be a unit cubed. Okay? Don't forget that. Okay, so they're our non-prism shapes and how you find the volume of those.